While Yahweh lives, you start out your video by saying there's only two explanations for reality. Either God made it, or it just came about, or it always was. When you mention things like multiversal theory and kind of dismiss them as crackpot, concepts, basically. When you dismiss the anthropomorphic principle, things like that, and basically include not just a God, but it seems pretty clear that you're hinting at your God specifically, the jump from deism to your specific theism. The truth is, your claims for God, your God specifically, any God to some extent, are entirely unsupported. There's no evidence for God. So the argument that it had to either be God or it just happened, well, God pretty much falls in with the crackpot theories at that point. The truth is, Big Bang, we don't know what happened before the Big Bang. We don't know if reality came from nothing, which I don't think it did. I don't think most scientists think it did either. I'm not a scientist. I think basically something changed form from a small singularity to what we have now. The reasons why, who knows? I mean, I've heard a lot of different ideas bounced around, objects colliding in fifth dimensional space or whatever. And yeah, all the ideas are pretty, entirely speculative. Hypothetical might be even generous for describing them, but for the ultimate reason why the Big Bang occurred. But your idea that God made everything has no more credence than anything else. Now, moving on to why God is so unappealing. Well, personally, a God, deity, that's not particularly unappealing to me. I'm pretty much indifferent to the deist views such as our founding fathers had, that something made everything and then, wandered off or whatever, Basically everything exists because it was made. But beyond that, they made no claims. I don't really have any problem with that. And when I was younger, I was raised to believe that there was, of course, a God, Yahweh, and he made everything, and he was a cool cat, and loved everybody, and, just a darn swell guy. Well, I wouldn't mind such an entity as I was raised to believe God was existing. As for what I find unappealing about the actual God of the Bible, well, there is a rather long list there. We are talking about a deity that first act of justice is to basically punish man and woman for committing a crime when they had no frame of reference regarding good and evil to inform their decision on the crime. And then not only does he punish them, but the punishment is spread on to all their children and ancestors. Now that right there is a problem with it. Moving on, we have Job, where an all-knowing God who says, hey, I know Job is a cool guy and he won't turn against me just because I'm not giving him good stuff, still lets the devil torment him, lets Satan torment him to prove it to Satan. Pointless. He's all-knowing. He tortures a guy for a bet when he already knows the outcome. Stupid. Immoral. That's one more reason not to like him. And not only that, but at the end, God buys him off by giving him more stuff than he took away. But he doesn't give him his family back, gives him a new family. That's just a insulting buy-off there. Hey, you mortals are all the same. Here, have more family members. No, not giving you the ones I took away back, but... So, moving on from there, we have Well, Noah and the flood. Man, there's a screwed up story. Now, putting aside that I don't believe that all the grown adults were necessarily bad people, that strains my credulity a bit. Even say all the grown adults were. Are we supposed to honestly believe that all the children were bad people? Or all the animals that died deserved to drown to death? I think of the story of Noah's Ark, and I think of, the bodies of babies and animals floating because God apparently can't aim worth shit. God, all-powerful, worst aim in the universe. Sure, he could give everyone that's evil a stroke, drop them dead in their tracks, but no. Just gets pissy, throws a tantrum, drowns the world. Leaves one little group of survivors. And a massively inefficient method of preserving the animal populations that he didn't need to kill in the first place. And then we move on to Exodus. Man, there is one hell of a screwed up story. God tells Moses, hey, tell Pharaoh, let my people go. But I'm not going to let Pharaoh let my people go. I'm going to harden his heart so he doesn't follow the command I just had you deliver on my behalf. And then I'm going to punish him for not following this command that I won't let him follow by not just punishing him, but his people and the slaves of his people that live there, and even the animals that live there. Man, that's a screwed up story. Hardens Pharaoh's heart multiple times in the story. Finally, after he lets Pharaoh let his people go, finally, relaxes that hardening of the heart. He just hardens Pharaoh's heart again so that, he leads his armies and after the Israelites and gets snuffed. I mean, then what do we have throughout the Bible? Multiple instances of tribal genocide where God has his people kill entire populations, including their children and infants, and sometimes their animals. Again, I don't know what God has with wildlife, but God has to be PETA's biggest offender on their list ever. So, and this just continues on, and then you get ideas like hell, eternal torment, eternal punishment for finite crimes, just an innately as unjust as something can be. The whole idea of justice, like the punishment to the crime. Eternal punishment, finite crime. Shoplift, eternal hell. Doling out forgiveness if someone accepts you as your Lord and Savior, and it just doesn't really cover the fact that the whole system is innately massively unjust. So, yeah, God, not innately repulsive. Your God, really, really repulsive. Just utter, vile, monstrous creation of the human mind. Thank goodness it's just a myth.